they were doing. I could tell you everything about what we did in our building.
Now
and
these guys,
anything.
it's funny because that's one of the first questions we ask. You put on that film on Monday about your opponent, and you're like, all right, we're playing so and so. Like, who knows somebody? Oh, coach, I played this with them, or hey, we played that. Like, okay, like, all right, that because they all know. I mean, Dave, you deal with it in youth the same way. I would imagine that the kids all know, who's where and what teams they're on, and if the kids don't, Dave, especially at your age, right? The parents definitely do. Oh, so and so's on this list, right? Or so and so's here. It's crazy.
Yeah, and they might be in like we had kids who'd get recruited and tampered with and whatnot, but even still, that process was so much slower. Someone would come, I remember literally like I was starting both ways as a sophomore coming off of a season where our team sucked, but I had shown a little something, was starting to get some recruiting attention. And I was at a City League basketball game, among things that don't really happen anymore. I was at a City League basketball game in a middle school, and a coach from an opposing high school showed up to my City League basketball game and stood out in the parking lot and came over and said, Mom and Dad, I think what we can do for your son, and we were like, wait, yeah, and it was weird. It was like you tracked us to a rec league game for a sport that I just play for funsies.
Whereas now that's the norm.
Yeah. And that coach, he had to pick who was he going to proffer in a parking lot. He couldn't come to my game and go to the next kid's game. He couldn't go to the rec league baseball game across town to try and get some other big tall kid over there. He could only shoot so many shots at so many intervals. The whole process was just slowed down, and you realized that you had to sit with it longer, which led to probably some better decisions because you didn't go off just knee-jerk emotion. You had to go with like whatever decision kind of calcified and stuck around at least till the end of the season. But that's, the kids today are just a reflection of the environment that we have built for them.
Right.
Everything that they do is logically motivated by what we do to them and do for them. So like that, and that's where, like, as a coach, you have agency. If you're just the kind of guy who's going to say, well, kids these days, well, what are you going to do? Hope for, kids tomorrow? They're probably not going to trend in a direction that you like if you haven't liked what's happened thus far. Like, this is the first sort of, still the early wave of cell phone, social media, head down kids. Just wait to see what's happening with more post-COVID children. Like, if you're not taking any accountability and sort of like finding a way to, grab the steering wheel and navigate these seas for yourself, like, you're probably not going to like it, as time goes on.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is that you have a subsector of athletes and coaches that are trying to figure out what's the best methodology without knowing all of the data that would lead them in the right direction. Now, obviously, there is data, but they need to research that data. And a lot of high school, I'm sure college, they have a lot more of that information. But at the high school level, I don't think there is a lot of guys that have that information unless you have a strength and conditioning coach that does have that kind of information. And I think that makes it difficult. But what I thought was so interesting about that was it was two quarterbacks, the starter and the backup, and at the NFL level, that felt that was important for their preseason development to do that. I thought that was really interesting because all the stuff that's out there, and it was not a coach that directed them, nor a strength and conditioning coach, nor did anyone stop them. And I wonder if there's some sort of like with athletes, and these guys were both the best athletes on their team in college in the
Mhm.
NFL. They're probably not, but in college. So I just thought it was very interesting that they thought that was necessary.
Yeah. It
for
probably
them
just
to-
speaks to them wanting to have agency and wanting to take accountability.
and they're not young.
Right.
They were at least in their late 20s. So
Right.
So that's the thing that I thought was very, very interesting, because they are elite level athletes,
Mhm.
and they thought that was something that they needed to do. No one is going to tell them. I also wonder if it's something that, let's say, they've done their whole lives, right,
Mhm.
and made them feel comfortable with the fact that they would perform at the level that they expect themselves to perform by doing that. Like like there is, to me, and I'm not saying it may have zero to do with them being better or worse or anything like that, but there's a mental component to me, to elite level athletes, that they feel they need to do certain things, whether it's right or wrong, but
They're programmed that way.
yeah. And I wonder, I do wonder, and this is not even like, it's not even a question that like has to be answered or anything, but I do wonder from the mental component for an athlete, that they need, do they have to cover certain things in order for them mentally feel like they're in the right state of mind? The thing that always comes to my mind is the whole drill sequence that Dak Prescott used to do from a quarterback standpoint. Yeah, the hip, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure he feels like he needs to loosen up his hips and all that kind of stuff. Does that make him a better player in the game? No, maybe not. Maybe not. But for him, whatever it does is it makes him feel like he's right and ready to go. Right.
Puts him in the quote zone, right? Like, know, each athlete. I used to feel that way, for every, and this is just a weird, like every game, irregardless, first play, kickoff or kick return, I felt like I had to fall down, like in order to like, all right, it's game time, right? Like whether I got hit, whether I made a hit, like something, I needed to fall down, hit the turf, hit the grass, and then it was like, all right, we're good to go, right? I don't know. I just think it's kind of almost, you're almost like superstitious type. You're almost starting to get into that world, right?
Yeah.
It's
pacifying neurosis.
Correct. Yep. It is.
And to that point, like, so you take those two quarterbacks who did extra,
right?
Which again, I would say, like, the physiologically, like, what did that do for them? Nothing.
Right.
But psychologically, it provides them with a feeling, which is probably placebo, but it provides them with a feeling of agency, and it provides them with the idea that this is me exerting control over my physical state. Now, like, for me, I have it at several different times in my life. I've done things like, I used to be really big into barefoot running, and I would run like 7 miles a day.
Barefoot?
In like the 5-finger shoes.
Oh, the 5-finger shoes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say, shit, coach, we're on a different, like, holy shit.
Yeah. But like, did it make me, or then, like, I did kettlebell challenges and stuff for a while.
Right.
I've done long fasts, like I've done 5-day fasts before. And
you,
you're amazing.
I'm not in very good shape right now. Do not compliment me. But
that's because you've been fasting for 5 days in a shot. Like, holy hell.
But the sort of point of that is, like, sometimes people go like, oh wow, like, what is that? Why did you do that? And I'm like, normally when I look at my life and go, when did I do that? My business wasn't going well.
Yeah, something was going on.
I wasn't in a relationship. Like, I was between jobs. I was broke. Whole lot of things, a whole lot of large. I felt very little agency within where I was. You know, so
Okay.
so it's like a fighting to have some sort of control over a process that you don't have any control over. And so
Right.
you just arbitrarily, you give yourself this thing that is like a declaration sort of your own discipline.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And but now here's like the wicked part there. So I would say, like, I don't think that made any like the activity there was arbitrary. It didn't make any difference. It didn't do anything physically for them. However, it shows you that, number one, they are looking beyond their coaches for some means to get better.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. Agreed.
A better, use of their time probably would have been go watch game film. Go watch your game film. What do athletes not want to do? Go watch on repeat the mistakes that you made. That's one of the hardest things for an athlete to do. That's what athletes do not want to go watch their mistakes. Go break down and confront your failings. They don't want to do that. They want to have a Rocky montage for themselves.
Yes, they
do. Because it's easy. There's a quote from a guy, Max Schmarzo, hard work is lazy. And it's that idea that, like, you're pacifying the story for yourself. You're saying, like, you feel like you need to do something because you haven't done enough because you're not ready. So you feel like you have to do something. So the easy default is, well, I'll just go run. I'll just go take off on a run. Now, at a certain point, you hit like a runner's high. So it starts to feel good. You're releasing endorphins. Well, that's a stress management thing. That's not physically, nothing's happening there. But you know what people don't do? Like even those two athletes that you're bringing up.
Yeah.
It's self-directed. And the self-directed part is a big, like, for that to have any value, it had to be self-directed. A coach will hear that story and go, ooh, that's what my guys need to do. And they gather everyone up and they go, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go be tough like those two guys. I'm giving you both, I'm giving you all, 4 more gassers at the end of practice. Now you've taken the agency that athlete was craving. You took it away from them. Like now the meditative, the exercise and discipline, it no longer belongs to that athlete. So now you're putting tread on the tire and breeding resentment all at the same time. Like you've undermined even the argumentative worth of that exercise. You took what could have been meaningful, even if it was, again, placebo, and you stripped it away to give the control to you as the coach.
A good coach would just point out and say, hey, so-and-so was, those guys were out there. They felt they need to, to do that to get better. You as an athlete need to figure out what you need to do to be better. I think that is definitely, I think there's value to that. I'm not saying the running the sprints, whether it's watching film, right? It could be watching film.
I think approaching the athletes and telling them, like, hey, what can I do? What can I do to help you get better? Is there anything else after practice that you need? Do you want more time in the facility for you to come in and do some extra work? Do you want that time? Not me giving you more. Do you want, hey man, do you want me to leave the door unlocked to the film room? Do you want me to stay a little late so that you and the guys can get a group in there so that y'all can watch film?
Hey man, I'm gonna roll the jugs machine out after practice. If you guys want to get catches, like I'll leave the ball bag over there. Just let me know when you're done so I can bring it inside.
Yeah, doing something where they can take ownership over their own process. And it's hard because most coaches, like coaches inherently, people who are drawn to coaching, they want a lot of control.
Oh yeah.
And they like their routine and they want you to like their routine. And, that's a real hard thing for coaches to deal with, is that even when you know the answer, sometimes like your job isn't to give it.
Right.
That's a thing, like over the last few years for me, has been like I've started challenging myself, like how much volume can I pull out of our program and our system? How little can we progress with? And when I say progress, I mean like at the rate that, I got a 126-pound wrestler right now who's benching 255 as a sophomore. But like, how can I make things like that work? Can I get guys jumping 36 inches and running splits that should put them at an electronic 4.4? Can I get those things happening with 5 to 10% less volume? And then if I figure that out, can I do it again? Can I do it while having fewer can I get more kids to show up voluntarily because they enjoy it? How can I facilitate like that environment that keeps the kids coming back? A big way is I have to be able to stay ahead of the kids. I have to be able to show them their advancement. I have to show them enough. It's like being a parent in a weird way, where like you have to show them that unwavering belief and expectation in them, and you simultaneously have to show them like enough care that they want to perform for you.
Correct.
But like if you're proud, if you're too proud of everything too early, then your opinion no longer matters. And if you're too hard and too cold, then they no longer, care about you at all. So it's, they have to feel that investment in you without it being about you. Like, and to understand, like at the end of the day, again, they don't have their frontal lobes, they're kids. There's certain things that you have to be more understanding of, like the whole, like the standard is the standard. How we do one thing is how we do everything. Standards are taught. And anytime there's teaching, there's going to be hiccups. There's going to be things that get lost. There's going to teaching cannot happen without mistakes. We learn the most on the precipice of failure or success. It's right on the edge. If you firmly if you go out and you beat the crap out of someone out on the field, your team doesn't get much better. Correct. If you go out and you lose close or you win close, like losing close is probably the best way to learn anything. Apply that. Just failing close is the most eye-opening experience. Succeeding close, vaults you forward, but it doesn't teach you near as much as failing close. And then failing or winning or failing by a lot teaches you very little. Right. So by that same context, like your kids are going to step over the line. Your kids are going to do things that you don't like or you're not proud of necessarily. It could be from an execution standpoint. Like sometimes form that you don't like is going to happen. Mm-hmm. But it has to happen because the kid has to be pushing enough that some sort of technical breakdown starts to happen. That because the kid has to be pushed into a state where they're experimenting essentially with their coordination and with their tactic. Right. And when the kid fails, they're going to learn what that failure feels like. When the kid succeeds, if they fail enough and they succeed enough, then they learn to feel that ever so slight difference in between the two actions. Doing it right and doing it wrong, if you only ever do it right, so much is learned by contrast. If you only ever do it right, then you don't know what it feels like as you slip into doing it wrong. You don't know that it's wrong until it's way wrong.
Makes perfect sense. Coach, it's been phenomenal having you on. Website for OVR. Make sure we let everybody know what that is.
Oh, go to OVRperformance.com. Again, we've got VBT devices. We've got sprint gates and jump devices. We've got a few other accessories, broad jump mats, things like that. All of our stuff is extremely affordable. It doesn't have subscriptions. The price you see on the website is the price that we offer it at and the price that you pay. You don't have to call to get a quote or anything. If you're with a school, we're in thousands of locations, including thousands of schools across the country, across the planet at this point. If you need to do things through a PO, we can handle that. We got you. Reach out to OVRperformance.com, info@OVRperformance.com, at OVR Performance on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, all that kind of stuff. Plenty of resources out there. Go check it out. Technology, should be affordable. Gamify your training. Go have some fun with some tools.
Awesome stuff. Great information today. I really enjoyed talking with you. I learned a ton, and we will see you soon. By the way, I just purchased myself a coach's pack from OVR. So
awesome.
Yep. So
I can see that come across my.
I purchased about a half hour ago. And while we're on, I
might have already
had it
it
in
away.
my cart since yesterday. Anyway, and I was like, let me just do it while I'm sitting in front of my desk. But yeah, it's so I'm looking forward to using it. I'll definitely give you my feedback, and then best of luck, and we'll talk with you real soon, Coach.
All right,
thanks, Coach. Good. Appreciate the time, buddy.
No problem.
Have a great day. All right, bye.
So
that was a great pod, dude. Really, really informative. Like, I learned a ton.
So insightful.
Yeah. Yep.
That's what's great about doing these days. The more guys we talk to and you see the different approaches to every, like we always say there's a million ways to win, you know what I mean? And develop and do all these things. Like, I just think for us, the gaining of the more and more knowledge, like some of these guys we talk to, we might not use what they use or do what they do specifically, but like, it's all like we take it all in and can use at least something, or even if they you still learn something else. So I think it's really cool to talk to some of these guys that have been in it, that have tried different things, do different things. You know what I mean? And then look, you're getting you just purchased something from him based off of like what you saw and what you liked. So it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think that and I'll let you guys. It's been a long pod. The thing that I
could have sat there for another 2 hours just listening to going through it all, dude. You know what I mean? Like, just
I think the bottom line is that one of the things that I do truly agree with that is that all of the stuff that from the development of an athlete works together, and you have to figure out what adaptations you need to do for each athlete, which is not easy, by the way. But that's really how it all speed development, you know what I mean, without adaptation to what you're doing, you'll reach plateaus. Now, like, my biggest thing is that, like, there is a very important to understand a difference between, is a kid developing because he's getting older and bigger and stronger versus things that you're doing that help, because the truth is, and this is why a lot of coaches don't change, is that your kids are going to get better because they're going to get older.
They're going to get better
no matter what you're doing.
Like the kid, Dave, like I look at it like this, right?
Like, hurt, obviously.
Correct. But look, and even if that kid goes in the weight room and does like the bare minimum and just does what we tell him, next year he's probably going to be bigger, stronger, faster, just because he's a freaking year older. So if I can help him now mentally, by playing him a little bit sophomore on specialties, right? If I can help him with that aspect of it, maybe he now goes and attacks this offseason, and rather just give me 50% in there, he gives me 75% in there because, I played a little bit. I had a little success. Or like what coach was referring to worked the other way. Like maybe he got his ass kicked physically because he's going against older kids. And now he takes that and he's like, all right, I got to get stronger. Now he works even harder in the weight room. You know what I'm saying? Like, I
I
think
agree.
talking about the mental side of it is a real big part of it too.
Met-
You know what I mean? Like, you can be mentally exhausted from whatever it is, you're being put through and all those kind of things. Like, that's the part of the game now that's so different, right? Like, the focus on so much of that
Well, I
now.
also think, yeah, agreed. I think that the reason why I brought that up is the reason why I brought it up was these guys are pro athletes, right? And they
Right.
felt like that is it's not a gotcha. It's a, hey, these guys felt that this was
They
important.
needed it. Right.
For their development. Who am
Right.
I to say? Who am I to say that them not doing it is going to make them play better by them
Right.
not doing it? Right. So
Even if I give them the numbers, the analytics, and the percentages and say, dude, if you do this, you're going to be less ready. They may still say, coach, this is what I do. This is how I do things. And like, I need this here to go do it. Even if you show them the numbers, like, hey, it's going to take away from it mentally, like, that's what they need to do to get in the quote zone. You know what I'm saying? I think that's part of it. I used to be like that, dude.
I was like
know,
that. In high school. I definitely 100% was like that. In college, I was like that.
high
And that
school, like lifting before a basketball game, like a hard football lift, and then go play a basketball game at night. Like, I needed to do that. You know what I mean? Like, I felt so much. If I didn't, like, if we had an away game and I couldn't get a lift in after school before I didn't feel right going on the court.
right. And I think that there's no way to measure that.
No.
And it's
Absolutely not.
called the placebo effect, but
Right.
there is a component to.
I enjoyed that part of it.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's a component to it. Like,
I felt like it gave me an advantage, a mental advantage over my opponents. Like, they didn't work out before this game.
Right, and that's another part that is.
You can dive into that.
I know. I'd like to dive into that because that's something. He talked about it really well. The agency of an athlete, like control. You want control
I love that.
over what you're doing, right? Because coach probably has control over most of what you do.
Right.
And
I need something within us to take ownership. You know what I mean? Like, I need like, hey, you're the safety. I'm giving you the ability to make this check. Right. Oh,
right.
Coach is letting me do that. Dude, I know what it's supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
But just for him to have that, like, it takes it to a different level. I really like that. Like the agency of it. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's I think that's a cool way of looking at it.
It's almost like a little like mind game. Like, maybe game's not the world, but you know what I mean? But just like that mental side of like giving somebody control or, like you said, to take ownership of something where, most times you're not, because you're being told as the athlete, you're doing this is what you know what I mean? Like, okay, now my 2 cents matters a little bit.
Right. Well, that's definitely exactly. My 2 cents matters a little bit.
Right. And when people feel like it matters or you're contributing to something, like, you take it to a different level.
There's no doubt about it. I think that's it's very interesting because, like, we go down rabbit holes of training and development and things that can make athletes better. And we also have to understand that there's things that athletes, as they get older, not when they're young, because they don't know enough, I would say, for the most part, about these kind of things. But you want to make sure that athletes do have agency, great word, over what they do. They
It's them. It's their body. It's their life. It's their world. Like you gotta, you know what I mean? Like I understand as a young person, right? Like just look about how you develop as a person in general. Like, you know, as a baby, you need your parents to literally do everything for you. And then as you progress, like that gets taken away until you now make, you know, it's your decisions. Now you see a direct correlation to what's happening in your life, your decisions. Like that's all part of it. So for you to now get ownership of something, like, yeah, it's going to take it to a different level.
Yep. And I think there's a push and pull to it. And there's a pod I think you posted on that. I'm not actually a huge fan of the guy, but he does have some good things. I just think that he's a guy that wasn't a very good athlete himself and wants everybody to take sports less seriously.
Less serious.
Yeah, well, you posted about something that he had on, but he always talks about youth sports. This, and he has this woman on that talks about it too. That like, that you know, but basically that parents should be trying to motivate their kids, or you know, you should ask them questions and blah blah blah. Like I think it's a push and pull. I think there's part of it that's good, but I think overall, like the big thing is figure out the right things that can help them. Okay. And sometimes it's a kick in the pants. Sometimes it's a kick in the pants. Sometimes it's question. Sometimes you have to motivate them. Sometimes you have to back off. Sometimes they probably need a push. Sometimes the best thing you do is say absolutely nothing. Okay.
Absolutely.
It's
parenting.
It's parenting. And one of the things that I think is big to do is to point out what things parents should maybe want to think about. Think about this. Think about that without prescribing parenting to people. That's a big thing.
Because I feel like you kind of when you have some of those conversations, Dave. Yeah. Right. Like when you, I think now when most parents, because when you do that, most parents take like offense to that. Like, don't tell me how to parent my kid. That look, that's like that's where coaches screw up a lot because it's all in their delivery, right? And how they word it and the approach, like, or even the timing of it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, or the situation, don't single up, you know what I mean? Like there's certain things that, you know, just parents are very temperamental at all times because you're talking about their prized possession, right? Like the one thing that should matter more than anything in their world. And that's just how they're going to always look at it. It is very hard as a parent to separate from whatever it is, right? Like even in your occupation, dealing with your own child, right? Like say you're a doctor and you have to treat your kid, right? Or you're officer and now your kid screwed up or did something, whatever, like a teacher with your kid as a student, to take that and separate yourself is very, very difficult, right? Because that's your kid at all times. So the approach has to be right.
Thing is meeting people halfway. So
yes, or hey, let's try this.
As a coach, you're less emotional about the decisions with your team. Okay.
Yeah.
Even though you might love the kids and you probably do love them, you love working with them, you're less emotional because it's not your own kid.
It's not your kid.
Right. The the parent is more emotional because it is their kid.
Their kid. Like, this is everything.
Both parties have to kind of meet halfway, meaning you as a coach, even though you feel, okay, I don't know, this kid should be work harder or tougher, whatever it doesn't even matter. You have to understand and have empathy for the side that the parent is coming from. Figure out if you could kind of get there with them. Now, a lot of times you don't, but you can get there with them to get common ground. And then the parent of the athlete has to figure out how they can look a little bit from what the coach is seeing as far as not just in their athlete, but their responsibility to the whole entire team, right?
Absolutely, because it's not just about your little Jimmy, right? So like little Jimmy is a part of something bigger.
Right. So there's both to it. There's like you need to understand that they're coming from this side, and then the parent needs to understand the coach has a responsibility and he's doing what he thinks is best for the
And
team.
I think that's really hard. A lot of
That's the hardest
parents,
part.
especially in football,
Both sides is hard.
right? Where
I
like,
think
hey,
both sides hard.
Jimmy should be playing, but it's like, you know, they just don't it's the same, you know, hey, teach so and so how to block, right? Because Billy just got up. And it's like, well, there's another side to that. What if you're Billy's parents? You know what I'm saying, or whatever, or you're you're yelling to block. Like, how do you think those parents feel, right? Or there's just they don't. It's really hard for parents to understand that bigger picture of, you know, because they just want what's best for their kid. When in reality, that might not be what's best for the team.
Right, and that's there is that.
That's
point
not going to change, dude.
And
You know what I mean?
The coach doesn't have to be empathetic
Right.
to it, but I think it helps
Correct.
you.
Oh, it definitely helps.
When you make a decision, just knowing what they're thinking, right?
Right.
You
It's also like
as a coach, you could say, "Hey, you know what? I know how they're feeling about it, and
because I've been there.
It's not what's best for our team, and
right.
I have to be willing to deal with the fact that they may not be with us."
Right, but I understand as a parent, you know, like if that was my kid, I would think the exact same or whatever it is. Obviously, you know, having a kid myself now with another one on the way has put me in a different. Oh, buddy, what's on fire?
Oh, yeah, fine. I'll see you later, Derek.
Holy shit! Go get it. Okay, let me know.
All right.